Liberals in this country have everything to be ashamed of. You have 4 floor crossers that were bought. They were bought. They were bought, blackmailed, honeypotted, whatever you want to call it. Maybe their lives were threatened. Maybe their kids' lives were threatened. Maybe Michael Ma's relatives in China and Hong Kong were threatened. Who knows? You're probably wondering why I have a collection of knives in front of me. I just set up outside to go over some of my my knife collection, and I had it set up outside. I'll put a little footage in this video, but it started to snow like crazy, so I had to move it back inside. Okay, so I'll start with this knife. This knife, I bought this a few years ago. I bought this at I believe it was Hercules Surplus on Yonge Street. It's in the old Gasworks building. I was going to enjoy my coffee outside, but the reason I assembled my knives was because yesterday when I was out and about in the city, I came across a group of teenagers. I would say they're high school aged, and they were waiting for a bus on Scarlet Road. I did a video off Scarlet Road yesterday. I was doing a little bit of a hike, and I was walking home, and I seen about 6 kids at the bus stop, and they were carrying on. I don't know what's, I understand when we were that age that we liked having fun and goofing off, but I'm telling you, the mindset of young teenagers today, I would like to think that we didn't behave like that when we were that age, and I'm going to tie that thought into what I'm going to say next. Now, I couldn't find all my knives. They're kicking around somewhere, but this is most of them, and they're all stored away. There's only a couple knives that I somewhat regularly carry or use. Now, the reason I assembled these knives, I thought to myself, what was I doing when I was a young person just starting high school? What was I doing back then? Well, number one, I had a job. I delivered drugs for a local drugstore, and I worked 3 days a week doing that. So I was earning an income, and I always had my own money. So that was one thing. Throughout high school, from grade 9 all the way to grade 12, I either had minimum 1 job or I had 3 jobs. I worked at lumber yards, I worked at trucking companies, and always had a job. Always had steady income all through high school. Had my own car in high school, and things were good. So I Google, I go, what year did First Blood come out in Canada? The movie First Blood, starring Sylvester Stallone. It was the first movie in a series of movies, but this was the original. And it wasn't called Rambo, it was called First Blood. So I remember going downtown to see this movie, and it came out in late October of 1982. So that would have made me 13 years old. I would have turned 13 years old at the beginning of October. So I was just entering my teen years. So I remember going down with 3 or 4 friends. I can't even remember who I went down with, but I remember sitting in the theater, went down to the Cineplex Theater in the Eaton Center, and we went and watched a lot of movies there. And I remember sitting in the theater and we didn't say a word. The movie was so action-packed. We were in awe. We were stunned with what we were watching on that screen. And so we watched the movie. We come out, we're high-fiving each other. We're all amped up from what we just witnessed. It was a life-changing movie. So I had money on me. A couple of my friends had money on them. And we said to each other, you think we can go buy one of those Rambo knives down on Yonge Street? Now, the Rambo knife in the movie was an authentic survivalist knife. It was the real deal. Now, arguably, some people might think those knives weren't the best, but I haven't researched them in a little while, but I know those knives, the originals or replicas of the original, can get quite expensive. I'm talking in the thousands of dollars. Obviously, the knife used in the movie itself is going to be who knows what that's worth, and I don't even know where that is or who owns it or whatever. But we go down, we used to have on Yonge Street places called head shops, and you could buy all sorts of, paraphernalia in there, knickknacks, rock flags, rock mirrors, drug paraphernalia, incense, and knives, cheap Chinese knives. So I remember going into one. It was on Yonge Street. It was the east side, north of Dundas. And we went in, and sure enough, they had replica Rambo knives in there with the compass on top, the sewing kit inside of it. And I don't know if it had a sharpening stone. This one does. And I'm going to go over this in a second. But I can't remember the cost of it, but I think it was maybe $10 or $12. And I had that kind of money on me. And I think one or two of my other friends did as well. And we bought them. And we were literally walking down Yonge Street, without a word of a lie, with our Rambo knives out of the sheath. Came with a cheap sheath, not leather. This knife here is a Smith & Wesson search and rescue knife. It's a relatively inexpensive knife. It's heavy, and you get mixed reviews on these. And I'll tell you the reason I bought this in a second. So we're walking down Yonge Street, looking at our knives, our giant knives, about the size of this, really, maybe even a bit bigger. I don't know. It was similar to this. Not as good quality. I'm not saying this is a great quality knife, because it isn't. But so anyhow, we get on the subway to go back home. Line 2 to go back to either Runnymede or Jane Station. I can't remember where we got off. But I remember on the subway, we all had our knives out that looked like this on the subway, and we were screwing around with each other with these knives. Now, were there people on that subway car? Yes, there were. Did that alarm them? No, it didn't. It didn't. No one pushed the yellow safety bar, emergency bar. No one called 911, nothing like that. It was just kids screwing around with giant Rambo knives. I know this is a hard story to believe, but I'm telling you, it was the truth. And so I took the knife home. You know, my parents looked at it and they're like, "Oh, what'd you buy that for?" And no big deal. I went to my room with it. And I had the knife for a little while. I think I broke it because it was a piece of junk. And that's it. I don't know what happened to it. I guess it got thrown in the garbage. But that is the reason I bought this knife. I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I bought it at Hercules Surplus on Yonge Street in the old Gasworks building. And the reason I bought this knife, because it was reminiscent of my childhood with that Rambo knife. And this knife, it's less than $100. I think it was. I think I paid less than $100. And you know, it wasn't even the money thing. It's just, like I said, it was reminiscent of my youth. So that's why I have this knife. I've never taken this knife out into the woods. People have reviewed this knife in a bushcraft situation. I don't think it's feasible for a bushcraft situation. It's too heavy, too big. But in a pinch, it would work for that scenario for sure. If you're out in the woods and this is all you had, it's going to be great. You know, you can baton smaller sticks with it, and it would last for a little while. Now I'll go over my knives quickly. I already did this outside, but you know, obviously I had to pack up shop and come in here. Relatively inexpensive machete. I've used this. This is a very sharp machete, and I like it. It's ergonomic for my hand. I got big hands, and it fits nicely. It's got a little knife on the end that is Velcroed and snapped to it here. It just came with it. Inexpensive, but I've used that, and it works very well. This is a K-bar, United States Marine Corps knife with the serration here. This knife has never been used. It's razor sharp from the factory. Genuine leather sheath. I bought this at Alf Larry's Sporting Goods years ago on a whim. It was in the display case. Give me one of those. And it's a legendary knife. This knife has been tried and tested in world wars. So leather handle, and K-bar, I believe, is still made in upstate New York. I do believe, last time I checked, but never used it. Never used this one. Now this one here is my favorite bushcraft knife. This one's seen some action. This is the SA5, and it's made in the US. It's a 5-inch blade, 1/4-inch full tang knife. It's very heavy, very well constructed, and I use that every time, or pretty much every time I've gone into the bush. I just recently sharpened this knife. I keep it sharp, as I do all my knives. And that knife there is, and now these are all Canadian prices. I know in the States, you know, you get sales and they're a lot cheaper down there. But up in Canada, we get ripped off with everything. So I believe that knife was around $300, maybe a little less, a little more. I can't remember, but around $300. I've had multiple of these, but I've given them out. I bought a bunch and given them out as gifts. This is a BPS made in the Ukraine. It's an inexpensive full tang Bushcraft knife. This one comes with a fire steel, genuine leather sheath, genuine wood handle, and they come razor sharp as well. And this one has seen a little action. This one's seen the bush a few times. I've given maybe about 3 or 4 of these away to people. They've gone up in price, but they're around 40, 50 bucks. In the United States, you can get all these knives for like a fraction of the cost. This is just a different variation of the BPS. Pretty much the same knife, different handle, different black leather sheath, real leather, good quality leather too. And you can use it as a dangle knife, or you can put it through your belt and have it tight to your hip. Sometimes when I go bushcrafting with other people that don't have any bushcraft equipment, I lend this one out. So this one's been used quite a bit too, but I've never used it, but other people have. This one here has never been used either. This is a Columbia River Knife and Tool, CRKT, and this is a boot knife. It's a double-edged boot knife. So this can go in your boot. I put a lanyard. All these lanyards I put on myself. Whenever you see a lanyard, I've done those myself with 550 paracord. And that knife has never seen the outdoors. I don't know what I paid for that, but I think it's over $100 for that one. And it's just a nice knife. It's I like it. Now, you can put it on a necklace, or you can put it in your boot, or you put it on your hip, whatever. Razor sharp. This is just a little Camelius. It's kind of like a little brother or sister to the big machete. These are inexpensive knives, but I like them. And they got good reviews. This one's seen the bush a few times. Still got some water on it from the snow. I got to clean them all. Like I said, I'll put a little footage in the video. And yeah, so this knife is razor sharp, and this knife is a good supplemental knife to have out in the bush. Tiny, but hey, listen, if you're in a pinch for something that you need to do a little batoning with, or not batoning, but you need to cut things with, very small, very light. This is my my everyday carry. I carry this almost every day. When I go down to rallies and whatnot, I leave this at home because I don't want to have any problems with the police. And this is a zero tolerance pocket knife with pocket clip and lanyard, and it's always visible. Now, arguably, the cops could give you a hard time for this, for carrying it, but I try to make it as visible as possible. It's up to the discretion of the cop, I would imagine. If they want to give you a hard time for carrying this in your pocket, yeah, they're going to give you a hard time for carrying it. I'm aware of that. But you don't leave the house with a knife or an edge weapon with the mindset you're going to use it for self-defense, or you're going to use it in the commission of an offense, a crime. I carry these knives for everyday bushcrafting use and everyday use where I need a knife. You can open letters, you can cut little rope, you can screw screws with it, all that sort of thing. That's why I carry it. So that's my everyday carry. This knife is relatively expensive in Canada. I think I paid around $300 for that as well. It is what it is. But yeah, if you want quality, you got to pay for it. This is my previous everyday carry. It's another CRKT. This one is, I can't remember the name of this one. Yeah, this one's a Kit Carson design. It's kind of a unique knife. I can't remember what I paid for, but over $100. And that one never leaves the house anymore either. I use that for opening letters and whatnot. This is my oldest knife that I own. I've owned this since I was a young teenager, or maybe around 12 years old, and for some reason I can't lose this knife. But this knife, yeah, I've taken this everywhere. This knife has seen a lot of action. And it never leaves the house anymore. It's just kicking around here. I can't even believe I found it. But yeah, it has a little sentimental value. This knife here was just given to me within 2 years. My buddy James gave it to me. We were talking knives over his house one day, and he went upstairs or into his drawer, and he pulled that out, and he said, "Here, take this." I don't know the history on it. It's well made. It's heavy, but it's just a folding knife, and yeah, it's a nice little gift. Will I ever give it back to maybe his oldest son? I've been thinking about it, because why not? And every time I leave the house, I carry a tactical pen with me. Every time. I always have one of these on me, inexpensive, and they got glass breaking capabilities. So if you have to break glass, get someone out of a car wreck, it's handy to carry one of these, and they write very, very well. Believe it or not, these are very good writing pens. I've given out I've given out dozens of these as gifts. I've given these out to strangers. I literally, I've handed these out like Halloween candy. I still got a few left, and like I said, they're relatively inexpensive. I think they're around $5 each, and yeah, they write excellent. And you never know when you got to break glass to get someone out of a car wreck. So I always carry one of those, and I have multiple different types of sharpening devices. This is a sharpening stone for my axes, for my knives. I didn't want to get all my sharpening stones together, but there's one, and I got one in here. It comes with this knife. But a bit of a long drawn video with regards to my edge weapons or knives. But the reason I'm saying this is because that's what I was doing when I bought my Rambo knife when I was 12 or 13 about 13 years old. Now, life sure has changed. Now, people that may or may not know that one of my hobbies is visiting war graves, and more specifically Victoria Cross recipients' graves. And I've visited, and I've said it many times, and I have many videos on it. I visited 28 Victoria Cross graves that are interred on Canadian soil of the 50 that you can visit. And I've said it many times, and I don't want to keep on repeating myself. But one person I specifically want to mention right now is Thomas Ricketts, VC. Thomas Ricketts garnered his VC during World War I. And the reason I mention him specifically, I've been to his grave. It's in St. John's, Newfoundland. And I was there in late June of 2024. He's the only VC recipient from Newfoundland. He was from the Newfoundland Royal Regiment. And he garnered his VC when he was 17 years old. So that's why I'm mentioning Thomas Ricketts VC. He was 17 years old. When you garner a Victoria Cross or a Medal of Honor in the United States, it's for extenuating heroic circumstances. And his citation, top of my head, read like a lot of citations during World War I. It usually involved capturing enemy soldiers. It usually involved, or a combination of all this, or it usually involved capturing enemy weapons, dispatching of the enemy. That means unaliving the enemy. And it's heroism that is recognized to be above and beyond the call of duty. And Thomas Ricketts was 17 years old. I look at 17-year-old people right now dyeing their hair and putting septum rings in, and confused on which washrooms to use. And 17-year-old Thomas Ricketts was in, where was he? I think he was in Belgium or Legum, Belgium. I think that's where it was. I'll attach the video to the end of this video of when I was at his grave in June of, I think it was June 27th. It was a day before Terry Fox's birthday when I was out there. So I'll attach that video if you want to watch that. It's not very long. And you look at what teenagers were doing, in a couple generations ago, as opposed to what teenagers are doing now. And they'd be rolling over in their graves, no doubt. And it's very disheartening when I see these kids these days, complaining about not getting a student loan, where most of them won't even go to college or university, and if they do, it'll be a completely useless degree when they're finished, and they won't have the money to pay their loan back anyways. And and you got people that are over in mud-filled and rodent and disease-ridden trenches, dying for king and country. So that's how our country has transgressed in the 100+ years since World War I, and it's unrecognizable. We have the Liberal government being run by very weak men, in my estimation, men that would never remotely last 1 hour in a World War I trench or a World War II battlefield. And, I don't want to come across like I've seen battle, like I'm some sort of warrior. I am not whatsoever. And I don't know how I would react in those situations either. But I'll guarantee you, I would react better than 99.9% of the population in Canada. I'll guarantee you. And I'm talking the other 1% would be current or retired Canadian military special operators that have served for Canada. And there's other people in the country of the 1% that are bushcraft people that camp, that prep, and are willing and able to survive in a wilderness situation. So I'm not saying I'm even close to the best in that regard, but what I'm saying is this country has been so softened, for lack of a better word. It has been so indoctrinated to become non-combative, very feminine, and the world around us is surrounded by sharks, and we don't have the capability to protect ourselves from the sharks encircling us. March 1st of this year, it just came out that a Canadian air base, or a Canadian military installation of some sort, I can't remember where it was. Was it in Kuwait? I'll put it up on the screen. Was attacked. It came under attack from Iran. And it just became known that it was attacked, but none of our service members were injured. And Mark Carney was questioned on it. And you know what Mark Carney said? He said he's not the only one in the government that answers questions, to that effect. He's not the only one that should be conveying information. That's what he said. The Prime Minister of Canada said that, well, more or less, it wasn't his responsibility to convey that Canadian military came under attack. Now, and he's flip-flopped 4 or 5 times with regards to his stance on the military incursion by Israel and the United States, where he said he does support them, then he said he doesn't support them, then he says he does support them. So in this go-around, he's not supporting them again. And his weak response to our soldiers coming under attack is it's embarrassing. It's not laughable, it's embarrassing. Our country has become the laughing stock of the G7, without a doubt. And it's because of weak leaders like Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron. Well, even Emmanuel Macron sent an aircraft carrier over. So I'll tip my hat to him, and Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau types of the world. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of them. You have people that are constantly defending what Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney has done in the 11 years, and they've done fuck all. They've done fuck all but weaken our country and make us a laughing stock. We all look like we're dress-wearing beta dandies galloping around with dresses on, men putting lipstick on in downtown streets and trying to get into women's washroom because they have a mental health issue called autogynephilia, and they weren't getting enough attention being a gay man, so they thought, well, okay, well, why don't I just put a dress on and some lipstick, and I'll get even more attention, and I'll have even more leverage to convey my mental illness to other people, because the Liberal government is making laws so you can't talk like this by pointing out mental health issues. Oh, yeah, I got to kind of start staying away from these videos because I get emotionally charged, because I am out in the real world. I see what's going on. A lot of people don't see what's going on in this world. They're just, you know, they got their phone, their laptop, their tablet, whatever, and that's how they live their life. They don't even leave to go buy food. They Uber Eats or DoorDash or Skip the Dishes. I don't even have any of those apps. If I want something, I go get it. I go make it. So people are living in a false reality. They don't realize what is going on. They really don't. And you know, a lot of people say in the comment section, a lot of people will say the same thing. They will mimic what I'm saying here, and they will say, like, how do we change this? And you know, I don't want to outwardly say that, you know, it's going to take a drastic life-altering movement in this country to change things. I guess I just did say that, and I think that's where it's going to go. I think that the Mark Carneys of the world and his liberal ilk of the world are just going to keep on painting the false reality picture until there is nothing left of this country. What's that guy's name? Hodgson. Is it Hodgson that... oh, not Hodgson. I can't remember his name. I'll put it up on the screen. He's in question period saying that the reason people can't afford housing is because of the war that is going on in the Middle East right now. You believe this fucking guy? He has the nerve to say in question period that people in Canada can't afford to buy a house because of the war that's been going on for 13, 14 days in Iran. That's the mental state of the Liberal government in this country, to come out and say something completely ludicrous like that. I also have a video of that Lori Idlut from Nunavut saying that her constituents, her NDP constituents, right after the election last year in April, were going to her saying, you know, we want you to cross the aisle to the Liberals.
My constituents that had been asking me to cross the floor since after the election results. And it was starting to just feel like I was betraying the wrong people. I felt like I was betraying my constituents by ignoring them.
She said she was listening to her constituents, the NDP voters. They were going to her constituents. That's who her constituents are. It's not the Liberals there. They didn't vote for her. The NDP voted for her. She's coming out and saying that the NDP constituents that supported her and did legwork for her, canvassing, whatever, donations, said they wanted her to cross the aisle. That's what she's saying now. That's how much these people lie. They're bull-faced liars. And if you want to be associated with a lying, cheating movement, political movement in this country, you're the problem. I understand that you want the Liberals to do your bidding for you, your communist bidding. And that's what they're doing. There is so many communist people in this country that think communism is going to save them because they've been living in their own communist mind since they were born. They're reliant on the government for everything, to tell them what to do, to give them money, to tell them where to work, to give them jobs in the government. They have been indoctrinated into communism from birth. A lot of these younger people. Now, these boomer people, I don't know what the fuck's going on with them. I really don't. But I'm going to say this analogy again. I said it in one of my videos, and this is the analogy I come up with. The gold medal game between Canada and the United States in men's hockey was 1-1. It was 1 goal against 1 goal during the second intermission. So going out into the third period, it was tied up at 1. Now, it was a nail biter. I watched the game. Now, we outplayed them. Their goalie saved them. But anyhow, so put things into this perspective. During the second intermission, the coach from Canada goes over, secretly talks to the U.S. team and lures them over to the Canadian dressing room for the third period. I know it's not possible. I get that in hockey. That's not the way it works. Just for entertainment purposes. So, 4 Americans decide to walk across the aisle and go into the Canadian dressing room and say, give me a Canadian jersey. Here's my American jersey that the Americans paid for me to get here, but fuck it. I don't want to wear this no more. I want to go with Canada. They come out in the third period, and one of those Americans, now donning a Canadian jersey, scores the overtime winner. Canada wins the gold. I'd be sitting in my living room watching that game, thinking this is the most disgusting piece of shit move I've ever seen in my entire life, and that gold would mean nothing to me. It would mean our country was nothing more than a bunch of soft, weak-minded traitors. That's how I'd be looking at my Canadian hockey team. Okay? I'm not looking at my Canadian hockey team like that. We should have won that gold. We have nothing to be ashamed of. But liberals in this country have everything to be ashamed of. You have 4 floor crossers that were bought. They were bought. They were bought, blackmailed, honeypotted, whatever you want to call it. Maybe their lives were threatened. Maybe their kids' lives were threatened. Maybe Michael Ma's relatives in China and Hong Kong were threatened. Who knows? Who gives a shit? You'd have to put a bullet in my head first before I ever did something like that. And I'm telling you the truth. I'm not the toughest guy in the world. Shoot me. Do whatever you want. Torture me. I'm not doing it. I'm telling you. If you think 4 floor crossers crossing the floor from 3 from Conservatives, 1 from the NDP to give you guys a majority government is a win, you're a bunch of losers. That's what you are. The whole political system in Canada, but the way the Liberals have done it is the biggest stain on this country's political history in the history of this country. Mark Carney will be the first majority prime minister to ever be given a majority government by floor crossers. And he's going around smirking, and he can barely answer questions. When he's asked about his Italy trip, he's hemming and hawing, and he doesn't know what to say. When he was asked about the Canadian military personnel that came under attack from the Iranians, he didn't know what to say. He threw someone else under the bus. And that's what these liberals do. And that's what you weak liberal people do. Now, before I close this video, I know a few liberal people that are stand-up people. They are tough, physically tough people, boxers, MMA people, okay? I'm not saying you're all like this, but you gotta take a serious look at yourself. take a serious look at yourself and just admit that you've been wrong, because this country is going to get vastly worse. It's going to keep on going. And what are you going to do when the rug is finally pulled from underneath you? The power goes out, the lights go out, the grocery stores have nothing left on the shelves. What the fuck are you going to do? I know what the fuck I'm going to do. I'm going to survive. A lot of liberals that I come into contact with throughout the day, and like I said, Toronto, I'm surrounded by them. They don't know how to survive. If Starbucks wasn't open for 2 days or their bank card didn't work for an afternoon, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd have a meltdown. A meltdown. Don't think that's not going to happen here. Don't think that, you know, we're not going to get into a situation like the Gaza, like Ukraine, like Iran, like other countries that are experiencing war throughout the world. War is coming to our shores. We're already in a war. And just because we are soft and our little high school kids going around with their purple and green hair and 15 nose rings in, going around saying they need more money for bullshit college and university degrees. If I see my kid on the news, I don't have any kids. If I see my kid on the news doing that, I'd be ashamed of them. Ashamed of them. Anyhow, you got any questions, comments, or concerns, put it in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Friday the 13th. Be safe. Bye.